Hi, gorgeous humans. Okay, one of my friends made a terrible mistake yesterday, which was sending me a voice note in that voice note saying, maybe I should just tone it down, speaking about herself, which of course set me off on such a rampage that I thought, actually, I just need to make this into a podcast because I think we all need to hear it. And we all just need to absolutely not tone it down. We need to do the complete opposite, actually, of toning it down. And it's such a tragedy that it would even cross our minds that we should have to tone it down. So there's so many different angles that I want to come at this from. But just first and foremost, this ties in exactly to what my experience was yesterday, which was after the morning class, the morning training, the sticks training. Guruji sat down with everyone. When he's here, he always does like a little kind of lecture maybe at the end of our training. Often it's just him yelling at us and telling us that we're not doing a very good job. But he was like quite philosophical yesterday and today as well. And he just said, like, we've all lost our voltage. Like, you've all lost your voltage. I don't feel anything when I'm watching you sparring. You're not feeling anything while you're sparring. And there's just no feeling in any of it. There's no energy. There's no Shakti. There's no power. There's no voltage. And he was saying, like, what are we all doing? We've all gone to sleep. Like, we want to be high voltage. We want to be sparring. And yes, it is repetitive. It is monotonous. We come every day and we do exactly the same thing every day. Sometimes we might spar with different people in the class, but the actual sequence itself is exactly the same every single day. And he was saying, like, instead of just coming here and going through the motions of doing the same thing every day, but like being asleep while you're doing it, like, give it your voltage, give it your attention, give it your devotion, be immersed in it, be completely aware of what's going on. Don't just be like doing the movements with your arms, like repetitively. Like, engage your whole body, engage your breath, be in that thing. Like, make me feel something when I'm watching you. You feel something while you're doing it. And he was like, we're all asleep, you're all asleep. And I think also he's speaking collectively as well, because we have all gone to sleep, like as a collective of humanity, as normal Western society. We've completely lost our voltage. We've completely lost our vital life force. And we're kind of just going through the motions, more or less asleep. And modern day life is exactly like this. And I think definitely on purpose. We are all just going through the motions. We're all working. We're all commuting. We're all exhausted. And like, because we're exhausted, we don't have any extra energy actually to do anything that we're passionate about. We've all been there. I remember so vividly this being my life, working in Melbourne, working all the time, commuting so long hours in traffic, working in an office with no windows, just being so miserable, being so just miserable that all of these horrible coping strategies were coming out that I thought that I'd resolved. Binge eating, like just going down the most absurd, like soothing mechanisms, just getting so immersed in social media and watching TV, like completely worthless, mundane things online, and just not ever having any energy, like getting home at night and just not being able to do anything, not having energy to do anything, not having any energy to socialize. And then the weekend would come and it would just be like recovering from the week to then just start again on Monday. And there was no time at all, no energy at all for anything else. And it's, I think, on purpose that way, because it creates a very compliant, very sedated group of people that of course are just going to keep going through the motions, which is what keeps society running. Like, just all of these kind of automatons just doing their part, and everybody just does their thing, and nobody really rocks the boat, and nobody causes a fuss because everyone's too tired. And then the system just keeps going on like that. But actually, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to be a part of that system. You don't have to just be going through the motions like that. You don't have to just be a compliant little sheep. You don't have to be sedated in your life. In fact, this is the thing of like toning it down. We don't want to just tone it down. You don't want to be numb. You don't want to have to be disassociating from your life. What you actually want is a life that you're so delighted by, that you're fully, completely engaged in it. Like, why would you ever want to disassociate from it? Because the actual life itself and what you're doing and how you're sharing your gifts and how you're being creative is the most important thing in your life. And you would never want to be distracted or disengaged from that. And I know that this sounds like a pipe dream, because had I listened to a podcast like this when I was in that situation, which I did actually listen to a lot of podcasts like this, which were a huge part of the path of getting me out of that situation, I just thought like, yeah, that sounds too good to be true, you know, like I don't have any skills that I could use. All I'm going to be able to do is just work for somebody else. I don't know any of the answers. It feels like too uncertain, too scary, and then just too risky. Nobody else is doing it. All of my friends are just like having normal jobs and doing normal things and buying houses and having mortgages and all of those things. Like nobody in my life was like on the same path as me in my mind, like what I actually wanted for my life. And I just felt like, of course, like something must be wrong with me, you know, which is exactly what my friend was saying yesterday. Like maybe something's wrong with me. And her partner wants her to settle down and live on a farm and have kids, and her family is also pressuring her to settle down. But she's like just such a powerhouse of creative power, like a bundle of like, you know what I mean? And like so much creative expression and power in her waiting to come out. And it all comes from like her having put a huge amount of effort into honing her craft and mastering her craft. But also she's so brilliant at collaborating and meeting other like-minded people and like learning from them, being so open to learning, and like using those things in her own work to elevate her own self. And part of that has to do with like, of course, traveling, meeting other people and being around other creative people, being inspired, being pushed by other people living extraordinary lives. Because then instead, which is what most people do, instead of being triggered by that, making that person wrong and telling them that they're running away and that they should just tone it down and settle down and just live a normal life, and don't you have bills to pay, and don't you have a mortgage, and all of those things, which is just projections of scared people. We do it when we're scared. When we're on the other side, we will receive a lot of these projections, because it's so triggering to people that are not brave enough to actually go after their dreams, to see other people being brave enough to go after their dreams, because it forces you to confront something inside of yourself, which is the fact that you actually maybe don't want to live the life that you're living, but you are, and you're not doing anything to change it. So you have two options then. You can either confront those things inside of you, which is extremely difficult, extremely painful, going to cost you a lot, because it's going to require you to change a lot of things and take some big risks and actually become a different person. Or you can just make the other person wrong, which is what most people do. So she's in this situation where people in her life are just telling her, like, just settle down, just tone it down. Like, why do you need to be going around all of these things? Like, why can't you just stay in one place? I think this means that, like, you have something wrong with you, that you need to be moving all the time. Maybe you need to, like, go to therapy. Maybe you need to look at these things in yourself. And I just sent her the longest voice note back saying, no, do not tone it down. Don't tone it down. The world needs more people that are going out there, out of their status quo, to meet new people, to have new experiences, to learn new things, to up-level themselves, to integrate these things. And then, of course, we go through phases where we settle back down again for a bit, and then we go out again for a bit, and we settle back down for a bit. Like, this is just a normal creative process. And I so truly, deeply believe in my soul that we are the most creative creatures as human beings. But most of us are so exhausted that we have no connection to our creative gifts. Our creative gifts need space, they need energy, they need time and not to be under time pressure, and they need just delight, they need joy, they need spaciousness, they need all of these beautiful feelings to be able to even peek their head out of the window, let alone for you to like go deeply into them and develop them into something extraordinary. So because we're all so exhausted on purpose, because that keeps us compliant, it keeps us in the system, we don't consider ourselves to be creative creatures. A lot of us don't consider ourselves to be creative at all, which is such a shame, because we all are, and in all different ways. And the fact that most adults don't consider themselves to be creative at all is just because we're too stressed, we're too depressed, we're too anxious, we're too worried about our future, we're too exhausted, all of those things to ever even have a creative impulse, let alone to be able to act on it and actually create something. So the reason that that's such a tragedy is then because we have a whole society of exhausted people that think that they don't have any talent or any gift, so they may as well just keep going through the motions. They may as well just keep toning it down, keep, doing the day-to-day thing, keep being like a nice, productive member of society that is just compliant. The world doesn't need more people like that. The world needs more people that are willing to be like, actually, I'm going to get off this roundabout and actually go out there and see what's going on out there and actually try and discover something new about myself and get so far out of my comfort zone that I have to recreate myself. I'm going to go through that metamorphosis. I'm going to dissolve my old caterpillar, my old self, and I'm going to rebuild all of that pile of goo into something extraordinary. Letting also that be a thing that goes through phases, because I was saying to her, like, you're not crazy for sometimes feeling stable and then sometimes feeling like you just have to get out there and do things. Like, the creative process is ebbs and flows, even throughout a 24-hour day, even throughout a month, especially as women, especially as cyclic beings. But there are periods where you will want to go out, you will feel the urge to go out, you will have automatically coming up a lot of opportunities to go and meet new people, to go and learn new things, to travel to different places, and these things will happen more or less effortlessly in your life. The opportunities will just be there, you won't have to force them, and you will go out and you have all of these experiences and learn all of these things about yourself and learn all of these new things. And then eventually it goes back the other way and you'll feel like, okay, it's time actually to spend time with myself. It's time to go inside of myself. It's time to consolidate all of these new things. It's time to integrate all of these new things, because we are so in the habit of just completely oversaturating ourselves, completely filling our entire being and our brain with just complete information overload, with no time at all for integrating any of these things, no time at all for putting our own spin on them, for incorporating them into the things that we have, for understanding how to do things in our own way, for experimenting with things instead of just learning about things. And so, of course, I said, like, sometimes it is normal for you to want to stay at home sometimes for some period of time and integrate these things and incorporate them and explore them. And then again, of course, you are going to want to go out there in the world. Like, that's just the way of creative beings. That's just the way of cyclic beings, when we're actually tapped into our own real essence and not just the essence of a 9-to-5 slog. So in that process of not toning it down whatsoever and actually toning it way up is this incredibly important factor of that you need to reclaim all of your attention and energy and focus and awareness that is scattered outside of you. This is another part of keeping us very, very compliant and very numb and very distracted. We are completely trained to be distracted while we do everything. This thing of productivity and being productive all the time and multitasking all the time and just having so many things to do and not enough time to do them in has turned us into a society that is just never just does one thing at a time. We're never just present with what we're doing. We're never really just aware of what we're doing. We are always doing 1,000 different things at once. Any moment that is like actually downtime, we fill it with something. We fill it either with, watching TV, or if we go for a walk, we're listening to a podcast, or we're doing something else, and often like multiple different things stacked on top of each other, which is just the biggest scam, again, of keeping us so exhausted and so numb and so distracted and so compliant, because when our energy is pulled in 100 different directions like that all the time, it's exhausting, first of all, and we completely lose touch with our own wisdom because we never give ourselves time to actually connect back into ourselves, because what that requires is silence and stillness for an extended period of time. But we don't have any silence because every spare moment is filled with some sort of noise that we're consuming. And we don't have stillness because we're running around everywhere trying to make sure that we're doing a million things at once. And this has been the most difficult thing for me to overcome. And I'm still definitely in the process of it. Although this Kalari journey is helping me a lot. This thing of just needing to be productive all of the time and feeling guilty when we're not. And needing everything to be optimized. And I used to really pride myself on this. It used to be like a part of my personality that I loved and that I thought was so brilliant, that I could do so many things all at once, really fast. And that was so fun. I could do it, I could get away with it because I had enough energy for it. But what it actually made was just somebody who was just never really aware of anything going on in her body, never that aware of like what was going on in her life, never that aware of like being able to actually give something her full undivided attention because I'd trained myself so far out of it. And I know that this is difficult to, think about and process, because I think back to when I was living in Melbourne, and to be able to do all the things that I needed and wanted to do, I had to stack everything. Every moment had to be productive. Every moment had to have something in it. Every moment had to be filled with something. And that did serve a purpose as a phase in my life, but it's not a sustainable way to live. It's not a conducive way to live indefinitely, because it burns us out. We are full to the brim with cortisol. We don't sleep properly. We end up soothing and numbing with other things like alcohol or drugs or social media, or just watching trash TV or food or whatever it might be, like all of the myriad things that we can soothe ourselves and numb ourselves with. And it's because it comes at a cost, that kind of lifestyle. Like, we can't be just go, 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 and then expect our body system to just be okay with that, to expect our nervous system to be okay with that. And it is tricky, because then if I think back to what I would have said, then I would have just said, like, all of these things are important, and there's not any of these things that I want to stop doing or could stop doing, or I'm even interested in doing in a different way. Like, I'm just surviving. I'm doing what I need to do. This hectic schedule has to be like this, so that I can work my 9 to 5, so that I can make sure I exercise, so that I can do my homework for the diploma that I'm studying, so that I can also keep my creative business alive and sell paintings and maintain my website and create content for social media and actually have a social life and actually make sure I can have time to cook and actually make sure that I get enough sleep. And we all know this struggle. We have all lived it. We are all living it. And this is our challenge, I think. This is part of, like, tapping back into our own wisdom, our own innate understanding of life, because we are all born with an innate understanding of life. We are all part of this cosmic blueprint. We are all here as the microcosm of the macrocosm. We already know the wisdom is already inside of us. It's encoded in our DNA, literally. So all we have to do is to get quiet enough and still enough to go inside and look at it and remember it and become familiar with it again, which is actually going to require us to stop going to 1 million different places outside of us to find that wisdom, because that's the easy way, that's the loophole. That's the convenient thing, when you could just buy it for $33 on someone's website and they're promising you all of these things. No, the answers are inside of you, and other people can show you some of the path. They can guide you some of the way, but if none of that comes with you sitting down in silence and learning to go inside of yourself and learning in some other way, some sort of physical discipline, physical vitality, things that you can do, you're never going to find the answers. You can buy every single course out there. You can read every book out there. You can listen to every podcast out there. Nobody is going to do the work for you. Nobody can do the work for you. And that's what Guruji was saying this morning. He was like, you're all walking this path completely alone. You are alone, you are alone, you are alone, you are alone. And that's the way it has to be, and that's the way it is. And don't delude yourself that it's any other way, because there are this many of you people here now, and by the end there might only be one of you. You never know. You're on this path alone. You need to look after your own path, and that's it. And it's true, it's true. We don't want it to be that way, but it is that way. So all of the things out there that are consuming, like, grabbing our attention, wanting our attention, just what could be this high voltage lightning bolt of precision, like one bolt going straight through, which is just like laser focus, laser clarity, laser confidence in yourself, laser ability to do what you say you're going to do, laser ability to know yourself and to learn and to go out into your life and make things happen through the sheer laser bolt of your will. When we have all of these distractions, this laser bolt is just dispersed into like 1 billion different things, which ends up in like 1 voltage being spent over here on nothing, 1 voltage being spent over here scrolling Instagram, 1 voltage on TikTok, like 10 voltages watching this TV show, blah, blah, blah. Like all of this scattered attention everywhere just means that there is no outcome. There is only just nothing. And none of those voltages add up to anything. that would have any kind of meaningful impact, because they're all completely diluted. They're all wasted. They're all scattered everywhere. They're all spent with the purpose of soothing and numbing and keeping you sedated, which is what the system wants, which is what you don't want. And so in order to be able to actually have that laser beam, you need to collect all of those things and put them into one thing. That then means that you have this ability to expend enormous amount of voltage on one thing at a time. So this is going to require you to absolutely stop multitasking. This was something that one of my friends, one of my very good friends, told me as a piece of advice. And it's difficult, like I haven't mastered this yet. But it's so destructive to our attention to be doing multiple things at once. And I know most of us pride ourselves on it. I also used to. But it just disperses all of your force into nothing. And then actually nothing gets done properly. Nothing gets done with intention. Nothing gets done with awareness. And so this looks like everything. This looks like eating your food, your meal, just eating your meal, not scrolling on social media, not watching TV, maybe even not having a conversation, but just enjoying your food, like being present with your food, looking at it, tasting it, smelling it, enjoying it. It looks like not scrolling on your phone while you're watching a TV show, if you're watching a TV show. It looks like not always having a podcast on when you're going for a walk. It looks like not being distracted with specific things in your life while you're working and checking your phone every 10 seconds, or all of these traps that we get ourselves into. And then when we can actually train ourselves to bring all of that attention back into one place, then we can finally feel what it actually feels like to have power, to have voltage, to have all of this, what once was just going everywhere in a scattered way, just to be back in one place, to be back in one thing, like for you to access and actually spend it very intentionally on one thing at a time. And then that looks like, instead of having dinner with your partner while the TV's on in the background and while the radio's playing and while they're on their phone and you're trying to tell them about your day and you're both trying to eat dinner, it just looks like just getting rid of all of those extra things and actually just focusing what's right in front of you, which is your partner, you, and the meal that you're sharing, which just enhances the amount of quality time and actual focus and awareness and dedication of everything in your life. Everything becomes meaningful. When our attention is scattered between 1,000 different things in the day, nothing is meaningful, because nothing is given its rightful time and attention and dedicated focus. So everything is just nothing. Nothing feels like anything. Nothing feels meaningful. Nothing feels important. Nothing feels impactful. And we don't want to live lives like that. That's part of being numb. It's part of being distracted. It's part of being sedated. Because then it's just a state where nothing feels meaningful, nothing feels good, nothing in our life is joyful, nothing in our life feels like presence. And you know exactly how it feels to be having a meal with somebody that's on their phone, checking their phone all the time. You don't feel valued, you don't feel respected, you don't feel important in their life, you don't feel cherished or loved. And that's the case with every single thing in our life that we're doing with half, even less, like a fraction of our attention. The things that we want in our life ideally are things that are so important and so impactful and so meaningful that we would only ever want to give them our full attention, our full devotion, our full meaning, our full dedication, because we know what it feels like to be given a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. And we would never want anything valuable in our life to feel like that. Also speaking symbolically, like, I would never want to disrespect the practice of Kalari by going to the pit and then having my attention scattered between this, that, which of course sometimes I do. Like, I'm very human, I'm very flawed. I definitely am learning all of these things in real time as well. But it's a constant practice, a constant battle of just being like, actually get back on track. Like, why are you here? What are you learning? Why are you doing this thing? Like, what are you feeling? Why are you doing this movement? What is the feeling behind this movement? How are you gripping the ground with your feet? Where are you looking? How are you breathing? I want to be fully immersed in that thing. And it's a thing of like, you can't it's like we're like children. Our brain is like children. We can't let our minds be multitasking most of the time and then expect it to actually want to work for us when we want it to focus on something. If you spend most of your day distracted, most of the day multitasking, most of the day also scrolling, most of the day eating mindlessly, most of the day with 10 things going on in the background, and then we finally actually have something important to do. There's an important conversation. There's something, an important occasion with our partner. There's something important going on at work. There's a creative project we actually want to focus on. And then we try to tell our brain, like, actually, you need to focus now. This is the time. Of course, your brain's not going to do that. You haven't trained it how to do it. You haven't taught it how to do it. It's like having a child, having a toddler in your house that you let them eat anything they want. And of course, they're going to want to eat like cakes and lollies and crisps and any kind of junk food. And then it's like, and some moment you sit them down at the table and you're like, okay, now you need to eat this bowl of broccoli. Of course they're not going to eat the bowl of broccoli. Why would they? You know what I mean? You know that it's good for them and that they should do it. But they've never had to do that before. Most of the rest of the day, they get to eat whatever they want. So why in this one moment when this thing is like important to you, would they do anything different? Of course they're not going to. Our mind is exactly the same. So we can't think that we can get away with more. And I know this because I've explored all of these loopholes myself endlessly. I have, of course, looked for every possible way to make it easier than what it actually is. Every possible way to make it, more fun or more effortless. You just have to do the thing, and if you want your brain to actually be able to focus on one thing at a time for an extended period of time, you have to spend most of your time in that state. And it's difficult, I feel like I've changed a lot of things in my life to explore this and to be able to understand this better and to just be experimenting on myself. Like, I don't watch any TV. I don't watch any TV shows. I don't watch any movies unless it's like an occasion where I like go to a friend's house and we watch a movie together, which maybe has happened twice in the last, since the start of the year. And I just also I'm not that distracted reading, and I love reading and I love reading fantasy books and I love all of these things. I've stopped reading fiction books so that I'm not just like constantly distracted by them, because I love them so much that just every spare moment of my time was filled with reading fiction books. And I thought, actually, there's a lot of things that I want to do in my time to develop myself more, to understand myself better, to deepen this practice of Kalari. And if all I actually want to do in my spare time is read fiction books, of course, that's nice, but it's not going to build anything interesting in myself. And of course, I realize as well, this is not either a sustainable thing. This is just me exploring something in a very particular moment of my life. And I'm not depriving myself so much, that I'm just living a miserable monk life. I'm already living the monk life. So I'm just seeing what other interesting side quests there are along the way to learn more about myself. Just as a sidebar for anyone who thinks I've gone crazy. So it's a thing of just exploring for yourself, because if you want to actually be able to turn it up, you need voltage to turn it up. And to have voltage, you need to not be distracted, because the thing that's keeping you distracted is the thing that's keeping you toned down. It's keeping you sedated. It's keeping you numb. Really, you don't want to be a part of that thing. It's a complete scam. You do not want to be somebody that wakes up at the end of their life on their deathbed and just thinks, wow, that was a waste of time. What did I even do? What did I even accomplish? I didn't even dream. I didn't do anything. I didn't get out of my comfort zone even once. And then what? So take back some of your attention. Find where you're scattered, where you automatically just open the apps and scroll, where you automatically just turn on the TV, where you automatically just do this thing, where you automatically call a friend to complain instead of actually just sitting with your feelings, where you automatically go and eat all of the snacks in the cupboard, where you automatically do all of those soothing behaviors, where you scatter your attention, and just even incrementally just claim back attention from some of those things. Start to store some voltage again. Start to get a sense of what it feels like to not have your attention in a billion different places. And from that place, you'll actually have enough energy to be able to turn it up. And that's when you actually get to make any kind of meaningful change in your life. Because it's impossible to come up with the answers of how to do things differently. And I know the feeling of working in that office and just thinking like, I'm going to have to do this for the rest of my life because I don't know how to change this. I don't have enough energy. I don't have enough time. And I'm in a pickle. You need to build the energy to then be able to change anything. The way that you build your energy is in the first way, like claiming back a lot of that attention. And a lot of my other podcast episodes have lots of other different ways of rebuilding this energy. But don't tone it down. Tone it up, 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 up. Go and discover your gifts. Go out into the world. Be an interesting person, Discover interesting things. Love you guys.